Welcome back. And so let's continue on our healthy relationships piece and see some of the things that we can learn and really improve our quality of life as we're moving towards our purpose. Okay, healthy relationships equal growth mindset and quality of life. So we know that healthy relationships are actually everything. And so if anybody ever tells you, oh, don't worry about the relationship piece, that's not a big deal, they are really sadly mistaken. Because how many of you have had a relationship in your life that you would love to forget? All of us have. And some of us, a lot of relationships, because we're slow learners. And so we don't want to be a slow learner. We want to have the healthy relationships because it totally minimizes negative drama. It takes away from all the negative palava that we could experience, and instead it adds to, it augments, it builds wonderful life experiences and opens doors of opportunities and helps us to continue to mature so that we can achieve self-actualization, which we know is purpose. Okay, so here's something I really love. This is so vital in understanding the whole healthy relationship piece. So you've constructed your model. You have a much better idea about, okay, boundaries are to help me grow, which we're going to talk about in the next few slides. And what exactly, how can I, in a real clear nutshell, if you will, way, understand if this is a healthy relationship? And we have 4 elements, and so write these down. The first one is I mean you no harm. Now think about that. What if all of the relationships in your life, they all had the view, I mean you no harm? So nobody would ever harm you. In fact, it would not even enter their mind to say or do something that could harm you. They know you so well. They know all your insecurities or the buttons that they could push, and they would never, ever do that intentionally. And if they accidentally did, they would be quick to come to you and make it right. So think about that. I mean you no harm. The second one is, what matters to you matters to me. What if the relationships in your life all contained the element that said, hey, what matters to you matters to me? What's important in your life? What's going on in your life? Let's talk about it. Because if it matters to you, if it's important to you, it's important to me. What would your relationships look like then? The third one, I only want the best for you. What if the relationships in your life said, I only want the best for you. I will never bring anything into our relationship that will harm you because I only want to lift you up. I want to build you up. I want you to have a high quality of life. And then the fourth one, that must pass the test of the seasons, which means no matter what you're going through or the other person's going through, you will always live the first element or first 3 elements. Now think about that in a relationship. What would your life look like? If everyone in your life had those 4 elements and they lived them consistently with you? And how would it impact these people if you had those 4 elements and you lived them consistently so that they, in fact, could have that same kind of life experience? What would your life look like? I can tell you that I live that way, and it's amazing. It to me, it's sometimes surreal because to really know that the people in your world are not fair weather friends, they're not family members who are intentionally going to sabotage you. These are people who absolutely, I mean you no harm, I only want the best for you. What matters to you matters to me and must pass the test of the season. It grounds you and it brings a sense of stability that you might not have had before and maybe have never experienced it. And maybe you thought, well, it's not possible to have that kind of relationship. That's not true. It is. I'm a living example of that. All the people in my world are healthy and they live this as well. And so you have to be able to say, wow, this is the good litmus test if this relationship is going to be healthy. Now, I caution you sometimes when we get involved in new relationships, we see everybody with rose-colored glasses. And so we're like, oh yeah, we have everything in common. All the pillars are there and all the 4 elements are there. So yeah, it's awesome, great. But we don't practice the 4th element, which must pass the test of the seasons. That means you must give relationships enough time so they can prove themselves that this is the authentic self, that yeah, I would never harm you. And I would never, bring pain to your life. And if I do, I would correct it immediately. You have to give people a chance to kind of like really get to know them. So don't be quick to enter a relationship and say all these things were present and none of them work. That's simply not true, because then I'm going to say, well, let's talk about it. Let's find out how long you were in that relationship and gave your heart away before you realize this person really did not qualify for number 4, which is must pass the test of the seasons. Okay, so this is going to be some really good food for thought for you, and it's really an excellent way to help teach our children about what to look for in relationships. This is the very beginning stages of that, and that's very helpful for them so that they don't fall prey and become victimized by some people who intentionally want to harm them. Okay, now there's a reason why you want to choose healthy relationships and you want to choose to build them. So spend some time reading through this. You want to fulfill and experience your purpose. And some people say, oh, well, you know what I'm going to do? I want to go to college and I want to get all these things done, but oh my gosh, I'm 17 or I'm 18 years old and I'm so madly in love. And because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and get married and then later I'll go to school. No, what you want to do is when you are choosing to build healthy relationships, you're actually making a public statement. I'm going to invest in myself because I want to be healthy for the other person. And I want to be healthy enough so a healthy person will see me and I won't be invisible, because if you're unhealthy, you will be invisible to unhealthy or to healthy people. And so if you take the time to say, I'm going to invest in myself because I want to be ready and be the whole healthy person when I get involved in a long-term permanent relationship. So I'm not going to bring a bunch of baggage with me and expect that person to resolve the issues. I believe that healthy relationships are intentionally built. And if you really care and love about somebody that's in your life, but you're not yet committed to a lifetime commitment, take the time to say, look, I gotta get well. I gotta get healthy. I gotta get strong. I want to be the best I can be for you. And if they say, oh no, that doesn't matter, it does matter. And that person should want the same thing. Okay, so spend some time reading this and really think how this is going to apply to yourself, and take little notes. You might say, wow, I had this thought when I was reading this note, and this is part of the investment model that I want to do, and this is how I'm going to apply this to my life. Okay, now we have over the next 3 pages, so you have this, that, and that. And so these next 3 pages are really important because we're going to talk about changing the way we think. And so remember, nothing changes when nothing changes. And so this particular exercise, when you do this, you'll go offline with me, and then you'll spend some time when in a real comfortable place. And I want you to fill this out. So I'm going to tell you how to do it. Okay, the square represents your circumstances. So that square is your circumstances. Then you see me. And so put your name in the me. And then in the square, I want you to put in all of your life circumstances that you would like to change. Or you're like, well, I'm actually okay with some of these things. So you can write everything in there, your life circumstances, but pay attention to the things that you're not really happy with. And you're like, I don't really know how to fix this. And so it could be unhealthy relationships. You could feel like there's some victimization going on, and that is kind of bothering you now, especially since you know about the benefits model, and you don't want to be in that. Maybe you want to put benefits model in there. Maybe there are some areas of your life where you're in the benefits model, or where you're experiencing poverty, or some of these other areas that you just know you need to make adjustments. So you want to fill the whole thing in there. If you need to go back to your word list in chapter 1, you can also put in there how it makes you feel. And so if you're feeling betrayed, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling invisible, you're feeling left out, you're feeling marginalized, any of these things, just put it all in there, because remember, we have to see it for what it is and be honest. Otherwise, we can't make adjustments. And so You know, if you're like, wow, I'm making a cake and I don't know what's wrong with it, and you realize, well, I never had eggs. Okay, well, you got to know what you were missing in order to be able to fix it. And so the same thing with your car. If you're driving your car and you hear a noise and you keep ignoring it, if you don't know what the noise is and how to fix it, then you're going to have a broken car. So make sure you're honest with this. And nobody's going to grade you for dishonesty, but your life will. Your life will demonstrate to others that, you know what, I'm kind of a player. I'm not being authentic with myself. And if you can't be honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with anybody else. And so, and you don't want to find yourself there. So spend some time developing out this little square here of all the things in your life, particularly paying attention to things you'd like to change. Okay. Now, if I change what I think, okay, what would happen in life if you change something in your thinking? So let's talk about, you're going to fill this page out, but let's talk about what are some areas in your life you could change your thinking in. Okay, so what if you said, wow, I really identified with the 1/8 inch principle? Or, you know, honestly, I really understood the zone of learning and how I can apply that. Or what if you were like, I so have gravitated towards the realization I was born for a reason. I have a purpose in life. And so if you have realized as you've gone through these first couple of chapters now into the almost the end of the third chapter, there are some things that are really important to you. Maybe it's the 4 elements of a healthy relationship. Maybe it's the pillars of intimacy. And so I know there are things that you've already learned up until this point that has been adjusting just slight changes in your thinking. And so what you want to do is you want to start writing down those areas of your life where you've adjusted your thinking since you've come through this program. And you're going to, so you'll complete that. And then you're going to say, well, can this, you know, affect my financial future? Can this affect my future in general? And so just be real honest about writing down, if I change what I think about healthy relationships, what will happen to my life? So you're going to complete that. Then what we want you to do is we're going to take a look at this same model that we had a couple of pages earlier, but you can notice there's some changes now with the circle. So what happens in the first one is you got the square that says me, and now you've got the circle because somebody changed their thinking. So see if you can follow this. Okay, in the first one, and it's not a trick question, I'm going back to this page. You see the little square that says me? What shape fills that square? It's not a trick question. I kind of just like gave you the answer. Well, it's a square, okay? And so a square peg will fit in there. And that means you fit in your circumstances. And so you're there in the middle of your circumstances and you fit well in your circumstances, even if you don't like them. And that's kind of tough for some people to grab a hold of because they're like, wait a minute, I'm here because, no, I'm going to say you're in your circumstances because you fit well in your circumstances and you've made decisions that help to create your circumstances. And when I say a decision, that could also mean that you're actually saying nothing and you're letting it happen instead of saying, no, this doesn't come into my life. This is you know, encroaching on my space to grow. And so when we allow things to come into our life, and when I say allow, there's a big difference from saying, no, it's not coming in. You fit beautifully in your circumstances, and so you need to be aware of that. But here's the good news, okay? Now, what if you've changed your thinking? Remember life lesson number 2. When I change what I think, I change what I see and do. And so now you've had a change in your thinking. Let's say you're looking at healthy relationships differently. Maybe you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to take some inventory of my relationships and I've got to make some adjustments because I don't want these relationships to interfere with my quality of life anymore, and I'm allowing this to happen. And so here's what's so cool about this. Now, what's the shape of this little circle? Okay, I gave you the answer. It's a circle. Okay. The shape that fits in here is a circle. Will that square fit there anymore? Nope. And so what that shows us is if I've changed and I no longer am comfortable with, nor am I no longer able to be in those previous circumstances because I used to be a square and now I'm a circle, what that tells me is that your life circumstances will start changing because you're not going to allow those other circumstances in your life anymore. See, when we change, it literally changes our environment because we say, this is what I'm going to allow in my life, and this is what I'm going to allow to come to me in my life. And the other things are going to be pushed away. We just don't have the power to be a part of that anymore. It's such a difference in, and it works against us so much that we're like, nope, 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 I don't want it. There's just nothing, I can't do it. Have you ever eaten something that you were like, okay, if I ever eat that again, it will like kill me. It is the worst tasting food I've ever had in my life. And so you make sure you don't eat it. And so it's the same thing in our circumstances. When we change in our thinking, we will literally start working to change our circumstances because we cannot any longer be a part of what we used to be a part of. That's the beauty of change. Those are the 1/8 inch principles at work again, because if you're changing your thinking about certain things that you've constructed in the first model, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to look at this differently. I've got to make a change in my life. Okay, so what do I believe? Do I believe that change always starts with me? Yes. So spend some time going through this page and read through it and realize, okay, what in my life am I not taking responsibility for? And where do I need to make some adjustments? Okay, so this wraps up this session. You got a lot of homework to do because you got to spend some time really kind of working through your life circumstances. And, excuse me, you also have to work through what you're changing already in your thinking and how that's going to impact your life circumstances. Okay, we'll catch up at the next meeting.